Good afternoon, everyone. It is Thursday, April the 30th, 2020. It is currently 2:30 p.m. Central Time, and yes, I am back live on the air, coming to you from Victory Baptist Church, here to talk about culture, talk about television. Let's talk about Netflix. Let's talk about Christianity and Christians and the church. We've got a lot to talk about. I am glad you have taken some time out of your busy schedule to join us, to listen in. If you are listening live, thank you so very much. I am happy to see some of the live numbers increasing. That is a good thing. I wish we could see maybe about a 20% increase in live listens, but I don't get too bothered by that because obviously there's no schedule from when I'm going live. I don't really advertise it. I don't really tell anyone. I just decide I've got something to talk about. I drive here, open the door, set up the laptop, hook up the microphone, hit the big red go live button, and I start talking, hoping people will tune in. So for those who do listen to us live, I appreciate your discipline, your willingness to who knows? I don't even know how people listen to us live. I think some of them do get a notification using the Spreaker app. Others may not get a notification and just kind of stumble on and go, oh, look, he's live on the air. So however you find us, thank you. I know most of you listen to us after the live program ends, and that program is uploaded to all of the podcast platforms around the internet. Thank you so very much. However you may listen, wherever you may listen, I want you to know I greatly appreciate it. I know you have a million things you can listen to. So I try to constantly, I think I was looking at this the other day. If you just kind of go through, like if you go to theologycentral.net and go to episodes and just kind of start scrolling through all of the episodes or do a search, I think you'll find that we cover a wide range of topics. So I think because we cover so many different things, that's got to be something that puts this podcast in somewhat of a different category. I don't even know where you really categorize the Theology Central podcast. Obviously it's theology based. It comes to it looks at the world from a biblical Christian perspective. But then when you kind of listen to me, I do a lot of challenging the Christian perspective. I do a lot of offering a different perspective. I've always tried to do that, and I think I'm still doing that, and hopefully that makes it. Hopefully it makes it useful. I mean, it's hard when you're a podcaster in 2020. I mean, just think of all the podcasts out there. There's millions. So, what can you do to be unique? What can you do to be different? You can say, well, you need to work on your production. Well, you know how many podcasts out there have, the professional sounding intro? Well, we do have a professional sounding intro for those who listen to us on Spreaker. You can hear that professional sounding intro. It just doesn't show up when it's transferred over to all the other platforms, which is disappointing. I could fix that, but I won't get into that long story. But I mean, just because it's highly produced with a professional intro and some intro music, that doesn't really distinguish you from everything else. I think when it comes down to it, it has to be your content that distinguishes you. It can come down to the voice of the one speaking. Well, that's me or whomever you listen to. Something about their voice. I think you're drawn to some voices and other voices you're not. I don't have the best voice, so that kind of puts me at a disadvantage. Obviously, a lot of podcasts today that are very popular are interview-based, or they're two people where there's kind of this conversation. I think there's people love kind of a conversational approach. Maybe I have a conversational approach. I don't, obviously sometimes I have a preaching approach. Some people like rants. I do rants really well, right? I do go on full blown rants. So I don't know. I'm always trying to figure out what to do, but I think at some point you can't chase. You can't chase. All you can do is be who you are. Like that's all you can do. Like if you are a podcaster, all you can do is you can only be who you are, and trying to be something else at some point stops being any fun. So I'm going to be who I am, talk about what I want to talk about, and hopefully there's an audience for it. So speaking of approaching things from a somewhat of a different perspective as far as the church is concerned, and as far as most Christians are concerned, this episode is not going to make me popular. This episode, I'm going to present a very different perspective, and I will be ready for the backlash, because there will be some, all right? So this is what I ask of you. Over the next, I don't know how long this is going to take, so I'm not even going to pretend that I know, because my podcast always go longer. That's the one good thing about doing a live podcast. You're not restricted by a commercial break or the top of the hour or the end of the show. I can talk for as long as I want. Well, I do have a 5-hour time limit, okay? Spreaker does give me 5 hours. So I do have 5 hours, and then I would have to stop and then restart, okay? So they do give me 5 hours. I've never reached 5 hours for one broadcast. I could, but I think most people would probably then, get mad at me. So, but this is what I've asked of you. You're about to hear a perspective that you're probably going to disagree with. You're going to hear me offer somewhat of a criticism to probably the way most Christians think, and how most churches think. And this usually gets me accused of being worldly, ungodly, a heretic, I don't care, who knows, that I need to read my Bible. A million different accusations will come my way. I just ask of you that you're going to hear a different perspective. So at least try to hear what I'm saying. Try to really understand the perspective I'm coming from. I know you're going to immediately go, he's crazy, he's wrong. That's not how Christians should think. But just stay with me, and maybe, just maybe, there's something to my perspective. Maybe, I think this is how we're going to look at it. I think most Christians are looking at what's right in front of them, and my perspective is further down the road. And so immediately I sound crazy, but I think further down the road, my perspective is actually better. I mean, obviously I have to think my perspective is better, or I wouldn't have it, right? If I thought my perspective was bad, I would change my perspective, but clearly I'm going to be trying to promote it. Now, if you want kind of a further context or further discussion, see my current mini-series that I'm doing on the church and culture. In fact, what is it called? I'll pull this up really quick. I don't remember the name of the series. It's a part of the Theology Central podcast. Give me 1 second. Theology Central, pulling up the app. Theology Central, the church and culture. The church and culture. If you listen to part 1 and part 2 of the church and culture, this is going to fit perfectly with it. In fact, I almost made this episode part 3 of that mini series because it really fits there, but I wanted to separate this out because I think this subject will probably get a lot of attention, all right? And so just listen to me carefully, and we'll try to we'll try. I'm going to try. When I say we, I guess I want us to try. You, the listener, me, the speaker. I want we to try to really think about this carefully and to challenge our perspectives and hopefully find some truth and maybe see things in a way that we haven't considered before. All right, so let's set this up. It all started about, let me look at the clock, about 25 minutes ago. 25 minutes ago, I got in my car to drive here to Victory Baptist Church. Now, I know some of you already know what I'm about to say. I got in my car. Come on, class. Tell me what I did. I can hear you. You turned on the radio. Yes, I did. I always do. And I turned on Christian radio. We always know what happens when I turned on Christian radio. Well, I turned on Christian radio, and they were talking about a new report. Now, according to what I can find, it seems to be a report released within the last 24 hours. I think within the last 24 hours. And they started talking about this. Now, they were going to dedicate, I guess, the last part of their show on Christian radio to this subject, but they were kind of teasing it at the beginning. which is a good idea. If you've got a long show, you tease the main thing you're going to talk about at the beginning, then you go to other topics, and then you circle back around, and then you keep people listening the entire program. That's pretty good radio idea there. So I was listening to them tease this out. I didn't get to hear the entire discussion. There's a good chance I'll grab the audio of it and then we'll play it in another episode of the Theology Central podcast so that you can hear them explain their perspective for themselves. But as I was listening, I just started shaking my head going, here we go again. This is how Christians always handle this subject, and I knew I needed to talk about it. So let me explain what they were teasing out. There was a report about Netflix and their ratings system. And of course, they started talking about Netflix, their rating systems, how many people have been watching Netflix during the COVID-19 pandemic, that I guess all the statistics were that there was going to be like a 60% increase of people watching Netflix, and it jumped to like an 80% increase. So they were talking about all the hours that people are watching Netflix, all the hours teenagers are watching Netflix, and that the ratings for TV shows that are directed towards teenagers are actually would have the rating TV mature based on the content that is in it. And they were saying, look, basically parents, you've got to be awake. Your kids are watching things and you've got to put a stop to it. I think even the co-host talked about being a goalie, and you've got to knock these things out from making it to the teenagers. You got to keep them from it. You can't let them watch this, and you got to say no to this. You got to say no to that, and you can't trust the ratings on Netflix. And basically this really major idea of control of what they see, block what they see, and keep them away from seeing certain things. All right. And I think that's the general perspective within the Christian world. The Christian world kind of has this mentality, right? And I may not state this 100% accurately, and I understand there's going to be variations of this, but Christians kind of have this mindset that, hey, we don't want, and sometimes they'll have it for themselves. Sometimes the parent will kind of have a different perspective, a different standard for themselves than they give to their teenagers. And we could talk about that and, how this works. But usually the perspective goes like something like this. Any TV show or movie that I guess promotes an idea, a worldview, or content that is opposite or opposed to a Christian worldview, a Christian ethic, or a Christian morality should not be viewed and should not be watched and should be avoided. Now, the problem is that sounds good, but if you take that to its logical conclusion, then basically what are you going to watch? Because unless it's made by a Christian that's literally trying to promote a Christian worldview, everything you watch at some level is going to stand in opposition to a biblical and Christian worldview. Now, sometimes Christians say, hey, if it's opposed to my Christianity, I'm not going to watch it. And then you watch it and you're like, well, the good guy just put, 18 bullets and, look at all the killing that took place. Is that a biblical worldview? Look, they didn't use a lot of obscenity, but they said, oh my, and then use the name of God. That's taking God's name in vain, but I think that's okay. Wait, that looks like a nice family movie, but look at the philosophy in it. The philosophy is follow your heart. That's not biblical. So sometimes I think that what they really mean is not that if it's opposed to Christian worldview, it's if it contains certain types of content. In other words, it can have obscenity. It just can't have a certain level of obscenity. It can insinuate that two people are sleeping together who are not married, but they just don't, as long as they don't show it or are explicit and demonstrating that these people are sleeping together. Okay. So in other words, the show can make it clear that two people are either committing adultery or committing fornication, and that's okay as long as they don't show it. If they show it, then it's bad. As long as they insinuate it, then it's not bad, okay? And so there's all these weird, trying to figure this out, trying to figure out when you should watch it, when you should not watch it. Now, let me make this very clear. This goes back to our discussion in the mini-series about culture. I'm trying to show you that it's very difficult for Christians sometimes to figure out exactly where their stance is. Like, how much should we engage in culture? How much should we not? What should we watch? What should we not watch? And you get sometimes these weird contradictory ideas about, well, I can watch this, but I can't watch this. I can't. And you're like, wait, you can watch that, but wait, what? I'm so confused. But it's Christians trying to figure it out. And I will agree that it is difficult to be a Christian living in this world where the world obviously does not hold to Christian ethics, Christian ideas, a Christian worldview, Christian philosophy, Christian theology, Christian morality, nothing. And so everything you watch in some way, shape, or form is usually an opposition to your Christian worldview and to a biblical worldview. It's just constantly offering up ideas that are different than that. And so Christians are like, I want to be entertained. So, so I think Christians struggle with how to figure this out. But I think the fundamental flaw in the Christian way of thinking is this. I want to stay away from everything that's opposed to my Christian worldview. I don't want to see it. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to hear it. I think there's a fundamental flaw in that because, and especially when it comes to parenting, what you basically do is, hey, cover their eyes, cover their ears, and cover their mouth. Hear no evil, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, and I'm just going to keep you away from it. All right? And I think there's a fundamental flaw in that approach. I think you have to have a long-term approach in mind. Just saying, don't watch, don't look. No, you can't watch that movie. No, you can't listen to that album. No, you can't watch that video. No. And all they hear is no, no, no. You may get the temporary victory. You may win temporarily. They may not watch it and they may be kept from it. But trust me, the day is coming when they're no longer under your control, or they're someone else's house, or they're somewhere else. They are going to watch it. They're going to see it. They're going to view it. And you may say, well, I did my job. I kept them from it. Well, maybe. But here's the thing. If all you did was keep them from it, I will argue you didn't do your job because you didn't help them for the future. All you did was hide them. You didn't do anything from this. And sometimes Christians make these weird comments, like even on Christian radio today. And they basically insinuated, you should have your children. And then sometimes you look at them and you're like, I don't even recognize you anymore. And they almost insinuated the reason you don't recognize them anymore is because of what they're watching. Let's make this very clear. The corruption that will show up in your kid and the corruption that will show up in my children or any children comes from within. They have a depraved heart. You can keep them from every quote unquote bad TV show, bad song, but you cannot change the reality. They are depraved sinners. All right? Just make sure you understand. They are corrupt from within. We always say, well, if they don't watch that show, they won't be corrupted. They are already corrupt. All right? They are corrupt from birth. They are totally depraved sinners with a heart that is desperately wicked and deceitful above all things. They're children of wrath by nature. So let's make sure we don't mess up our theology there. The corruption, the depravity comes from within the child. All right. That's where it starts. Let's just keep that in mind. All right. And I've said it so many times. I'll say it again. Cain killed Abel before there was rock and roll, before there was, metal bands, before there was heavy metal, before you just name the genre of music. I could sit here and go on a long list of different genres and I can name albums. But before there was any music or before there was any rock and roll, hey, Cain killed Abel. Before there was Netflix, Cain killed Abel. Before there was cable television, before there was HBO, before there was Cinemax, Cain killed Abel. All right, because he was depraved. All right, so let's just make sure we understand that. All right. So he didn't have to read a book or see a movie about murder to come up with a plan to killing his brother. He didn't have to have that. In fact, we could just go all day on that. Just make sure we start from that perspective. Okay. So when they were talking about it, I came here to the church and I looked up the article. I'm just going to briefly give you the article and then I'm going to offer my perspective here. So let's kind of break down my perspective so far. If your philosophy is keep them away from it, no, don't see, and that kind of dominates your philosophy and your strategy and your technique, I'm going to argue you're doing it, that there's a flaw in your system and that you're not helping them in the long run. Let's keep that in mind. Number two, if you somehow perceive that if you keep your kids away from all the corruptible influences in the world, that somehow they're not going to be corrupt, well, you're crazy, because your kid is corrupt and your kid is a corrupting influence, right? Sometimes parents are like, it's all those other kids. No, it's your kid, okay? Because your kid is corrupt just like you're corrupt, just like I'm corrupt, right? We're sinners, right? That's the beauty of the Christian worldview, is it acknowledges our flaw that comes inside of all of us. So sometimes parents almost act like my kid is innocent. No, your kid is a sinner. My kid is innocent, and it was that movie that gave them that idea. If that movie did not exist, they would come up with that idea because they're corrupt. It comes from within. So let's keep those two things very much in mind, all right? Now, here is the news story. Report: 104 of 255 Netflix shows for teens have mature rating. All right. 104 of 255 Netflix shows for teens have mature rating. All right. This is what they say. A new report from the Parents Television Couincil, PTC, has found that the most common rating on Netflix teen programming is TV mature. Because the TV mature rating designates content for adults and not teenagers, this means that by definition, hang on one second, my laptop was about to run an update, okay? And if it ran an update, it was going to close down my live studio, and my live broadcast would have came to an end. So let's read this again. I apologize. I'm glad I looked over and saw that. I'm like, wait, what's going on my laptop? Yeah, that would have been bad because it would have had to restart, and that would have been the end of the live broadcast. All right, so let's read this again. Here's the report. It was published yesterday, so this is about 24 hours old now, all right? Report: 104 of the 255 Netflix shows for teens have a mature rating. A new report from the Parents Television Couincil, the PTC, has found that the most common rating on Netflix teen programming is TV mature. Because the TV mature rating designates content for adults and not teenagers, this means that by definition, the programming is unsuitable for the audience from whom it is intended. Moreover, the study found harsh profanity to be nearly, ubiquitous and content rated for teens. So it's all over the place and content for teens. Either the content is being rated inaccurately, or there has been considerable ratings creep with the criteria used to determine an age-based rating, says the report's authors. Neither option allows parents to do their job effectively. Netflix is marketing explicit content to children, and we call on the company to cease doing so immediately. All right, so we're going to, I guess they want to tell Netflix what they should do, how they should do it. I hate this kind of control. You do it our way. You do it our way. Right? You listen to us, okay? They want Netflix to do the parents' job, I guess. I don't know, but all right. Here we go. Yeah, in fact, they really have this in bold. They have a little advertisement in the middle of the article, and then underneath it, Parent Television Couincil. Netflix is failing parents. Well, I'll make sure we understand this. Netflix isn't designed to be a parent, isn't designed to help the parent. Netflix is designed to put content on a streaming device that people will watch and want to watch and watch a lot so that they'll keep paying their monthly subscription fee. That's what Netflix's job is. They don't really have a job for parents. All right. They're not there to help parents, fail parents. All they care about is the parents put in their credit card so that they get the monthly subscription. That's what they want. All right. But all right, here we go. The report from Parent Television Couincil is timely, considering that people have been consuming more media due to sheltering at home because of the coronavirus. According to market research firm Nelson, media consumption rose by 85%. I think I said 80. 85% in the first 3 weeks of March. A report from global technology company Morning Consult found that Netflix is the top streaming platform consumers have been using during the pandemic. Other data show that television consumption has increased throughout all hours of the day. Kids technology company Super Awesome found that children are spending up to 50% more time in prison. Parents Television Couincil sought to answer the following questions. What are teenage children seeing on the most popular streaming platform, Netflix? Can parents trust that program? Can parents trust that a program which is listed on a Netflix program guide in the teen category is actually going to be appropriate for their teens or preteens to consume? And can parents trust that a program carrying a teen content rating is actually safe for their children to watch? The study looked at teen programming as of April 6, 2020, assessing it for mature language and ratings. The report did not directly evaluate Netflix's program based on violent, sexual content or mature themes. All right. And then they go through all of this and they kind of break it all down. And basically what they're saying is, hey, these shows that are, I guess, in the teen category on Netflix, it's actually a content that would be more suitable for an adult. So, hey, parents, keep your kids away from it. All right. Or at least, and again, the way the Christian radio was taking the information was, hey, keep your kids away from it. So, hey, all those programs are in the teen category. You can't trust those. So don't let your kids watch them, I guess, until you figure out what to do. All right. So that's the basic argument. That's the basic information. And you can look up that article. If you need that article, you can email me and I will send it to you. All right. So let's consider this carefully. All right. Now, I know when I say it's not Netflix's job to do the parents' job that people will get mad at me and say, well, Netflix could make it easier. Well, maybe they could. Maybe you could argue, well, that programming is not suitable for teenagers. Well, that's your morality coming in. You say it's not suitable for teenagers. Another family may think it's perfectly suitable for teenagers. Not everyone's going to agree on what's suitable and what's not suitable. That becomes down to personal preference, personal morality, personal ethics, and for a Christian, that comes down to how you feel that the biblical morality is to be applied to television viewing. All right. How do you apply biblical morality to television viewing? Like, how do you do that? Well, all right, thou shalt not take God's name in vain. All right. Any show that says, oh my, and uses the name of God is wrong, right? Well, you're not going to watch it. Well, that's pretty much eliminates every television show that's ever been made pretty much in modern history. Even Disney shows constantly will say, oh my, and use God's name in vain. Okay. Any show that shows adultery is wrong. Any show that shows fornication is wrong. I mean, any show that tells you to follow your heart is wrong. I mean, the shows are inherently coming at you from a non-biblical perspective. So if you can either go to the extreme of saying no TV and you'll be consistent, but the minute you say no, we're going to allow us to watch movies and television shows, you're constantly going to be trying to figure out how to apply the biblical morality. And if Christians can't even agree on what someone should watch or shouldn't watch, if Christians can't even agree, but we then scream at Netflix that Netflix needs to do a better job. Well, I guess you could argue it'd be great if the ratings were better articulated and they told us everything that was in it. Maybe so. I would argue it's usually not too hard. You can see a show. You can probably just start reading about it within a couple of seconds and you're going to be able to figure out exactly what's in it. And I will argue if it has the TV mature rating, which it seems that they do, well, then how are Netflix failing parents? If it literally has the TV mature rating, right? If it's literally TV mature, how are they failing parents? They're letting you know that this is designed for a mature audience. Now you can say, well, it shouldn't be in the teen category. Okay, but you've got the rating right there. And I think within the parental controls of Netflix, I think you can either put no programming with a TV mature rating can be viewed. So then you can just stop your teenagers from seeing it that way. I don't know what they want Netflix to do. I sometimes I think parents want Netflix to come to your house and sit there and say, okay, your kid's going to watch TV. I'll sit right here and I'll let them know what they can and can't watch. I don't know. So Yeah, we could talk about that. We could talk about that all day. But I want to really get to my major point here. All right. So we have this philosophy within the Christian world that what they do is, hey, see that rating? That's bad. No, you can't watch it. So let's go through all the shows marketed to teens that have a TV mature rating, and you tell your teens you can't watch any of them. All right. Congratulations. You shut them down. You block them. They can't see it at your house. Now, there's a very high probability they're going to still see it somewhere, somehow. Very high probability. I guess during the lockdown, if they're not going anywhere, you could probably stop them. But they probably have a mental list of the things they're going to watch as soon as they get a chance. They probably have a mental list, and they're probably going to see it. But here's the thing. Even if you gain that short-term victory, you've stopped them. Guess what you've not done? You've not taught them in any way, shape, or form how to actually process art and media, how to analyze it, how to understand it, how to perceive it, how to view it. You've not given them any skill in what to do with media. You've not. What you've probably, there's probably an unspoken rule in your home that the way you watch media is mindlessly. You just sit there going, with your mouth hanging open, drooling on yourself, going, well, that was good. That was good. Oh, wow, that was exciting. The end. Guess what? That's not instructing. That's not parenting. What you need to do is teach your children, let's watch this. Now let's discuss it. What was the narrative? What was the moral in the story? Was there a moral in the story? Which character was good? Which character was bad? Why did that character do that? Did you feel sympathy for that character? Did you feel empathy for that character? Why did you feel empathetic for that character? Well, like, what was it about that character that you liked? Did you agree with their actions? Do you think their actions were moral? Did you think those actions were immoral? Did you feel anything in you? And you want your kids to be able to be open and honest and not just give the and I'm going to say it and it'll offend some people, the stupid church answer where they're just supposed to say, it was bad, they did bad, I hate it. No, don't just mimic and just repeat what you've told. You want your kids to really engage you on what the show was about and talk about it. Well, you know, that character right there, he did some messed up stuff, but I kind of, mom and dad, I kind of agree with what he did. Okay. Well, why do you feel that? Well, and then you can try to help them understand how the show took that character who did all that bad stuff and made you feel sympathetic for them, that they kind of manipulated your emotions. And then you have to say, now set aside your emotion just from if the Bible is true and morality is right, from a moral perspective, that character was wrong, correct? Well, yes. Okay. So do you understand how your feelings can manipulate you to see something that's immoral in a positive light because of the way the character was portrayed, the way the story was written, and help them understand what is happening. Help them understand that yes, that hero, he's the hero of the story, but he saved everyone in an immoral way, or he brought the story to a conclusion doing something immoral to bring it about. That wasn't good, right? Or just say, what do you think about that? Let them express their own feelings. Don't just come in and say, this is how you must think about the show. Get them to learn to discuss it, to talk about it, to try to take it apart and go, well, this is where the character started, right? So what did we think about the character in, let's say it's a TV series. What did we think about the character in episode 1? Okay. What did we think about the character at the conclusion of season 1 or conclusion of the series? Did we see a transformation take place in that character? Did we see a redemption story where the character started here and then ultimately there's some redemption at the end? Get them talking about the story arc, the characters, the plot, what it means, the morality in it. Teach them how to analyze it. Because here's the thing. If you teach them that, then at any point, whether they're with you, they're not with you, whether they're at a friend's house, whether they sneak into a movie, no matter how they may view it, if you give them those skills, they will always utilize those skills. Their mind, after a while, they will just go, well, this is what the show was saying, and well, okay, yeah, that kind of goes against, and they're able to process what they're seeing, because what we're concerned about is the negative influence, that they will be influenced by it. Here's the key. Influence comes when your mind is disengaged. When your mind is just mindlessly there, that's where the influence can begin. But if the mind is taking every thought captive and processing it, it's not just to get them to process it, it's not just as simple as, that character said a bad word. That's not Christian. That was bad. No, that's elementary Sunday school mentality. Deeper, broader than that. Because you can have a show that doesn't use one cuss word, no sexual content, very little violence, and be more anti-Christian than the show with 40 F words and all kinds of violence, because the underlying philosophy, the underlying message may be absolutely opposed, like the idea of many Disney movies. Follow your heart. Listen to your heart. Believe in yourself. All right? You are basically good. Listen to that heart. Your heart will always guide you in the right direction. It may be wrapped up in an animated movie with wonderful, music that the kids love, and it may sound wonderful and great, but the underlying message is literally more unbiblical than if you'd let them watch a show for an adult. But we don't see that, because all we're looking at is our little checklist. Bad words, sexual content, violence. Boom, it's bad. See, Christians have to learn to process art, to think about it, to process it, to analyze it, to be able to figure it out. And I think that's where Christians always fall short in these debates. Hey, Netflix is not, look, they showed a bad show that's opposed to Christianity. I'm going to boycott it. I'm never going to watch anything unless it agrees with my Christianity. I want every TV show to preach the gospel. I want every TV show to look like Leave It to Beaver. I hate this world. Okay, then look, I can understand it may bother you, but hello? Either don't watch any of it, or if you're going to watch it, then at least analyze the story. What's it about? What's it saying? Teach your kids how to do that. Engage in meaningful conversation. My kids know it. We still really do it, and most of the time, no matter, even that they're adults now, if they're back in my house, if something is on television, when it's over, we talk about it. There's a discussion of the message, the meaning, the morality, the ups, the downs. What's it saying? How is it saying it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Now, there's plenty of times as children, they would be like, oh, I like that, and I agree with it. And you don't want to just come down and go, that is unbiblical, and that's ungodly, that's wrong. Well, you want to go, well, why? You want to find out how they're thinking, how they're processing it. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, watching an episode of FBI Most Wanted. Okay, it's a crime drama. Obviously, the FBI is involved. Now, this episode dealt with basically a guy who was stalking someone. He had been done wrong in his life. He had seen the weakness of his father. He's now just, anytime anyone would even possibly cross him the wrong way, he would stalk them. He would hack into their computers and email them and threaten them and just destroy their lives. And as the FBI was investigating it, it became obvious that one of the agents was way too emotionally involved in this case. Like, this case was really bothering her. And then you discover as the story flows, as the story developed, that she had not only been stalked by some guy, was still currently being harassed. He was texting her and basically still stalking her, even as an FBI agent. And she was emotionally bothered by this. So as the show developed, you kind of had these two narratives going: the case they were working and this FBI agent's, this woman's personal story. And then she had to meet the stalker, and then he kept bothering her. And finally, she was going to have this big end confrontation with him at the end of the episode to basically say, you destroyed my life. These are all the things that happened to me because of your stalking. You don't understand it. I didn't like the attention. In the stalker's mind, she liked the attention. So at two people watching it with me, right? Both children, right? 8 and 6, 7 and 6. I think that's the ages. I can't remember. Probably a little too young to be watching it. You could argue, but it was on, and they came in about midway. But it was so interesting when it was over. When it was over, no matter who's watching, stop. We're going to talk about it. All right. The older one was really like he's very literal, and he thinks a lot, and because he's been around me enough, he knows that we talk about the shows we watch. If you don't talk about it, you don't watch it. That's kind of the rule. All right, so he wanted to discuss it, and he was really bothered. The case they were working he didn't really seem too worried about, but this relationship between this FBI agent and the stalker, it really bothered him. So he was asking so if a girl doesn't want to talk to you, then you don't talk to her. And he was trying to figure, he was seeing this in his mind, hey, in his perspective, I don't want to be a stalker. I don't want to be a guy that would do that to a girl. And so he was trying to ask, so he was trying, and of course he's still too young to really get into it, but he's already thinking in a good way that as he gets as an older and a teenage boy, hopefully he'll learn some basic rules. That, hey, when the girl wants you to leave her alone, you leave her alone. Now, I know in some movies, it's, the guy keeps bothering the girl and doing all these romantic gestures, and in the end, he ultimately gets her. But that's a whole different philosophy we could talk about, because in this case, no matter what this guy tried to do, the girl didn't perceive this as romantic. She perceived it as a stalker who was harassing her, that created anxiety and fear, and that she felt she lost control of her life. So I was like, no, you've got to understand, when someone says no, they don't want to talk, you leave them alone. There's boundaries there. So that's the way he interpreted this story, is I don't want to be the stalker guy. But the younger boy, crazy way he interpreted it. His view was the girl, and this is crazy, the girl, she's mean. She was rude. She's a jerk. He walked away mad at her because she was so mean to him at the end, at the final confrontation with her stalker. He didn't wrap his mind around, and I'm like, no. She was being mean in what she was saying, but this guy had bothered and harassed, and he was like, well, she didn't need to be that mean. He perceived the stalker as the victim, and the girl as the one who did wrong. Completely different way. Now, of course, their mind's still trying to process it, and you can make an argument that they're not capable of processing it yet, so probably not a good thing to watch. And it wasn't designed for them to watch; it just happened to come in the middle of it. Typically, they don't watch that on a regular basis. But my approach is, okay, if you're going to watch it, let's discuss it. And just right there, you see that they were walking away with two completely radically different interpretations. But listen, even at that young age, this is what I want you to take from this. They were able to talk about the meaning. They were still able to talk about an interpretation. They're not geniuses or prodigies. They're just average kids who can sit there and take a TV show and go, well, and they felt complete freedom to be able to tell me what they thought, even though, and I didn't just come down going, look, you remember that part of the scene? That's not very Christian. No, we were analyzing the story, and they walked away with two different feelings, and both feelings are validated that it's their feelings, and it's okay to have those feelings, but now let's look at it. So I had to try to explain to the young one, no, the guy was in the wrong here because he was stalking. She told him to stop and leave him, and he would not leave her alone. I don't know if he ever truly got it, but that's the way. They don't ever get it the first time or the second time. Just think of how many times you can read a story. You may not truly get it until you've read it the fourth or fifth time, or the lyrics to a song, the same way. We have to do a better job of going beyond just don't look, don't see, don't watch. No. Now, there are times, obviously there are times that there's a show that's not right for a child of a certain age. There's definitely things that are not right. I'm not saying it's a free-for-all. Clearly, there's some movies that are way too, you get into certain genres of horror movies, sometimes referred to as slasher flicks. Come on. That violence is so over the top, so explicit, so much content that, you don't want small children watching that. Obviously, there is an age. Obviously. My point is, we can debate content and what age someone should watch or not watch. We can debate that forever. All right. Some people say, well, they're 17. Okay. Some people say, no, and you can argue that all day. Some will say no one should ever watch it no matter what age. I understand all of that. Please hear what I'm saying. I'm not trying to get into a debate of what they should or shouldn't watch. What I'm trying to tell you is the approach is wrong of just saying don't watch. We have to first instruct and equip them to process what they watch, what they hear, and what they read. When they hear a song, what is the song about? What is he talking about? What the person in the song? What's going on here? What's his feelings for this girl? Is he expressing that in a good way or a bad way? Does he view her as something to be valued, or does he view her as property to be used? How is she respond? Like process the lyrics, right? Walk through it with them. That's what I'm trying to say. If you get this, he was just saying they can watch anything. I am not saying that. I'm saying that our first job is to equip, to train, so that they can process whatever they come in contact with, whether it's a song, whether it's a novel, whether it's a book, whether it's interpreting scripture. These skills are transferable. Go read Augustine on talking about how to interpret the Bible. He says we learn interpretive skills from other things. When we learn how to read, we learn interpretive skills from the things of the world, and those interpretive skills are transferred over to how do we interpret the Bible. These interpretive skills are transferable to every walk of life, from a novel to a movie. Now, there are different nuances in how you interpret a movie, because you have visual things going on that the directors put there that you have to be able to interpret. But that's that gets into film analysis. That's a whole different thing. But you get the idea. Train them how to process it, not just don't watch. You can't watch that. That's bad. That's sometimes the Christian mentality. Just don't watch. I'm the goalie. Knock that down. Nope, you can't watch that. Nope, get that out of my house. Nope. Well, at some point, they've got to learn how to actually process what they see. Now, I am not saying that you just let everything into the goal. Not saying that. I'm saying that no matter what is brought into the goal, they've got to learn to process it, analyze it, talk about it. And whenever I say this, Christian parents just shake their head at me like I'm crazy. Like, nope. I've even had Christians basically say, I don't care to analyze it. I don't care. Well, you've got a scriptural mandate. Take every thought into captivity. If you're watching something, thoughts are entering into your brain because you're processing what you see. Take them into captivity. But people are like, I just like to turn off my mind when I watch TV. Then don't watch TV. Because there's a message in it. There's a message intended in every show and every sitcom. There's a message. There's a philosophy. There's a morality. There's an idea. There's a worldview. If you don't want to put on your thinking cap, just keep the television off. Sit in a silent room and look at the wall. Okay? Because that's how you're influenced by it. You're influenced by it because these ideas and thoughts and worldview are coming into your mind that you didn't even process. And the next thing you know, you're speaking that worldview and that philosophy, not even realizing where it came from because you filled your mind with it without even considering what was coming into your brain. But parents get really irritated with me by that. Now, I think we're going to be out of time. All right, 48 minutes. I'm going to go quick for the next thing I want to say. Okay, I want to make this very clear. So I want to make sure we understand. I'm not getting into an argument about what you should or shouldn't watch. We could go through some of the shows on Netflix that are kind of directed for teenagers. I think, is it 13 Reasons? I think Selena Gomez. I think it's 13 Reasons. I think the first season was about someone who committed suicide. I don't remember what all the episodes are about, but that was a very big show within the teen world. And there were Christian radio, and a lot of them were like, no, boycott. We want that show removed. I think American Family Association launched a boycott on Netflix to get 13 Reasons removed. And again, I hate when Christians start telling companies what they can. Look, if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. But you want it removed so nobody else can watch it. I hate when Christians tell everyone else what they can watch. If you don't want to watch, don't watch. Don't try to boycott so others can't. Who are you to tell other people what they can watch? Next thing you know, if we have atheists saying, boycott all Christian messages. Oh, no, you're persecuting us. But we have no problem trying to shut everything else down that doesn't agree with us. Oh, Christians drive me crazy with that nonsense, okay? But you can look at some of those shows, and I'm not here to argue whether a kid should or teenager should or shouldn't watch it. That's not my point. You're missing my point. My point is the mentality of just saying, don't watch it. You have to first instruct the child how to process it in case they do watch it. If they do watch it, can they process what they saw? Can they analyze it? Can they understand it? Are they really thinking about the message? Are they talking about what is that trying to say? What is that message telling me? How is it wanting me to view the world? How is it wanting me to think? What is it? I want them to be able to process that. And I tell you, that will happen far better if you watch with them. And that's my next point. Too many parents, it drives me crazy. Too many parents have this mentality. Hey, I don't care what the kids listen to. I don't like it. It's garbage. It's noise. I don't want to hear it. Turn that garbage off, right? Because I don't want to hear it. Well, you tell them to turn the garbage off, or they go put headphones on and listen somewhere else. Be involved. You are a parent. Okay, that's a job description. Don't just say, don't watch that around me. Turn that garbage off. What are you listening to? Let's listen to it together. Why do you like that? What's going on here? Tell me about the song. Know what they're listening. Know what's popular. Parents act like that it's impossible for them to know. I just don't know what kids are into today. Wait, you don't have the internet? You can't look up music charts? Ooh, that's really hard to do. 5 seconds. Number one singles, 2020, you can get a list. Number one singles for the month of April, you can get a list from Billboard. I mean, whoa, it's so hard. I mean, you may have to really work as a parent to figure out what are the popular shows on Netflix? What are the popular shows? And then ask, hey, do you watch that show? Your kid, and hopefully your kid will have the freedom to be able to say, yeah, Mom and Dad, I do watch it. I know you wouldn't want me to watch it, but I watch it here. Or let them have that freedom and say, well, so what? So do you really like it? Okay. Now you may think it's inappropriate, but if they're already watching it, you can do you want to make your fight over a show or over music? There's too many other, if you're going to have to fight your kids, fight them on something bigger. That's my view. So talk about what it's about. Watch it with them. Be a part of the discussion. Help them navigate. Not just sometimes what parents do. I don't want to hear what you listen to. I don't care. I don't like it. It's all garbage. It's all noise. Like, some old person yelling at the kids, get off my lawn with that bad music. I hate that mentality of old people drive me crazy. And I'm sorry if I'm offending old people. Okay. But it just drives me crazy. This generational thing. In my day, the music was good. The music today is a bunch of garbage. Yeah, because because you're not a music fan. All right. That's your problem. But understand why they like it. What's it about? Let them understand what it's about. They just may be singing the songs and not, they just may love the music and just singing words they don't even know, but give them a few. And it's not about, please hear me. It's not about simply saying, see that lyric? They talked about getting drunk. That's not Christian. It's not just preaching a sermon or giving a rules of what makes it bad. No. It's about getting them to really understand what it's about, what it's saying. And then be a part of the journey with them. Talk about it. Listen to them. Okay, don't cause a division. I hate the generation gap kind of nonsense. Here we're going to watch, I don't know what old people watch. Okay, we're going to watch this and you're going to go over there and watch that. We're going to listen to this. You're going to go over there. We're going to listen to the oldies station. You're going to listen to the top 40. In your world, my world. And then all of a sudden we're like, well, we don't understand each other. Well, you don't understand each other because you're not communicating. Talk. Now, now listen, What I'm offering is not some guarantee that your kids are going to grow up and be Christians, because it doesn't work that way. There's nothing that can guarantee your kids being a Christian. Whether you believe in complete libertarian free will, then it's their free will that decide if they're going to be a Christian. You can't make it happen. And if you believe in election, guess what? You can't make it happen. So whether you believe in libertarian free will, it's their will that's going to decide, and their will is absolutely free. And you can try to manipulate that will, but it's going to ultimately be their will that makes the decision, right? Or their will's not free. And if you're trying to manipulate it, then you're actually trying to go against their free will. So if you believe in strict libertarian free will, they get to do it, or whether you believe in election. But here's what you can do. Whether they become a Christian or not a Christian, you can help them learn to process what they hear and what they see, to be able to determine worldviews, ideologies, philosophies. You can help them process information, think about it, and that will benefit them throughout their whole life. It'll benefit them when they have to interpret Shakespeare. It'll benefit them when they have to interpret some form of famous poem by a famous poet and literature class. It's going to help them when they're trying to process and understand an economics textbook or a history textbook or a college lecture, or if they're watching a play, if they're watching a Broadway show, where they're watching movies. You're giving them a skill that will be with them for the rest of their life. That's okay. I see what they're trying to say there. You know what? In reality, that show, even though it supposedly had aliens, it really wasn't about aliens. It was about this man processing the death of his wife. Okay. I see what they were doing there. Help them understand how. And I'm just throwing out all kinds of ideas, random ideas from various different movies put together there. But you get the idea. Sometimes it's not what it appears to be. The director is using this to really picture something else. If your kid can process that, that's a skill. Oh, that's the message there. They're not turning off their brains. You're helping them to think. You're helping them to process. You're giving them a skill. And that's your job as a parent. All right? Now, you could talk, again, if you're a parent, you believe that just shut it all down. Well, you can shut it all down. You can. And that may be the right thing to do. Just, cut off all secular entertainment and just have your kids sit at home reading the Bible and doing other things. You can go that direction. But make sure at some point they're still going to enter into the world. So you still need to give them the skill on how to process things, because they're still, at some point, you can shut everything down for 18 years, but 18 years and one day is coming. 18 years and one day is coming. And then what? When you don't have control, did you give them the skills to enter into the world and process it? Now, I'm not saying that means you run out and let them watch everything. I'm not saying that. I know that's how people always interpret what I'm saying. Whatever it is they're watching, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a kid show. I don't care if it's a cartoon. I don't care if it's a sitcom. Talk about it. What was that about? And parents act like whenever I talk about this, parents act like that I'm asking them to do something that is akin to cutting off their hand. Like, you don't want to talk to your children after watching a show? I mean, I know my theory is insane. You don't want to talk about it. We'll talk about professional wrestling's been a form of entertainment big in my. We'll talk about wrestling storylines all day. How do you think the storylines are going? What do you think they're trying to say? What do you think the motivation is here? What do you think this character is going to do? We've talked about, everything. It's just it's not something like you have to force yourself to. It's just natural. We go to a movie theater, but before we even get to the car, we're already thinking about it. We're already talking about it. Sometimes before the credits are even done, one of my kids will be like, I think this was really trying to say that this is about the relationship between the daughter and the father, and they just told this story with crocodiles swimming through the basement of the house. Whatever. And that's from a movie, Crawl. I did see that with one of my daughters. And there was another movie me and my daughter saw. I don't remember the name of it. It had something to do with sharks. And when it was over, she was like, "Did you see how where the show started and where it ended? That it came full circle. What do you think this message was? This and like she had caught on before I even had a chance to say anything. And again, it's not about. I'm not here to argue with you about what you allow or don't allow. I'm just saying that in the process of what you allow and don't allow, you have to instruct and equip. That's what I'm trying to say. And be a part of it. Don't just equip and say, now go watch it on your own. Watch it with them. Listen to with them. You know, it won't hurt you. And it creates memories. There's movies we watched and talked about 15 years ago that my kids still talk about. Because they remember the memory of watching it together and talking about it. Right? I mean, you spend enough time apart. So I'll stop right there. I know I went way long on all of that, but I think it's very important. So I'm going to stop. If you have, if you want to email me, don't email me, okay? Because my email has been turned off. Now, you can email me at newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. That's newsif@yahoo.com. Let the hate, let the hate fly, and I promise you, I will analyze it, okay? I will analyze it and try to find out exactly what you mean. All right. Yeah, a little humor there. All right, everyone have a great day. I'll probably be back live on the air here shortly. God bless.